ATL Now. I am here. I have to tell you, it is a pleasure. It is an honor to be sitting here with Miss Snoop Dillard. Today, we're going to do an interview from her location here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just ecstatic to be sitting here today. Snoop, how you doing today?
Oh man, thank you so much for having me, Mark. I'm excited to be sitting with you as well, you know?
Yeah, well, let me tell you like this. When I think about what it took to get me from Akron, Ohio, to get you from where you came from us to be sitting here today, I want to make sure that the audience understands the power that it took to make us connect, but not just the power, the obstacles, the challenges, the adversities that we had to overcome for our destinies to align to be sitting in this place today. So we're going to give you some good information. Snoop, tell the people a little bit about your ideas, what you got going on here, what your thoughts are here this morning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of what I have going on, you know, I recently dropped my reality show, Snooping for Love, which is now streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Recently authored a two-part book, Who is Snoop, which is an autobiography about my life, my journey. And then the second part is called Grieve, Grow, and Go. And so that is a self-help book for those that are going through grief and that are learning, you know, how it is that you still go on, you know, after the loss of someone significant in your life. So those are two main projects that I have going on. Of course, you know, we have the businesses. We're sitting here at Escobar Restaurant Tapas right here in downtown Atlanta. And, you know, Mark, we were just talking about a lot of the initiatives, you know, that we've been doing and trying to make those things bigger as far as, you know, our cleanup initiative that we do around here, you know, feeding a lot of the vagrants, you know. So both of those initiatives, you know, we do every couple months. But got that going on. Also, of course, my salon suite coaching program. So I'm one of the, you know, biggest business consultants in the country that help people open up salon suites. And so even after everything that I do and I'm involved in, you know, I've got a life insurance company, Forever Family Life Co. I've got a rental car business, you know, I'm in hospitality, I'm in salon suites, and people always ask me, you know, what is it about salon suites, you know, why I focus on the coaching in that industry? And that's because, you know, it's a passive income industry, you know, and so out of all of my businesses and all of the things that I do, that's the one that I least have to worry about. That's the one that I least have to step into, you know, so lots of things, lots of great things we can talk about today.
I'll tell you one thing, there's so much going through my mind right now. It's trying to, you know, they say, how do you eat an elephant? And I say, one piece at a time. So we go slice this down. First thing that I want to talk about, you talked about this reality show that you have going on. Let's talk about that first and foremost.
Sure.
What is that all about?
So it's called Snooping for Love, and basically it's a spin on it. Did you ever watch Flavor of Love?
Yes.
That was one of my favorites, right? And so it's a spin on Flavor of Love. So it's me, you know, getting back out there after going through a divorce that I was kind of blindsided with, and so me kind of getting back out there and finding, you know, another lucky woman, you know, to come into my life, you know. So it's a 10-episode series, and it shows me in a total different light. You know, a lot of people are used to seeing the business side of Snoop. But it shows, you know, some of my humor, it shows some of my down-to-earthness, it shows, you know, my emotional side, you know, so we kind of go through a lot of different things, you know, in those 10 episodes, and the ladies, they go through challenges and cook-offs and dance-offs and, you know, several other different things, you know, to try to capture, you know, my love.
The thing about that is, first of all, the courage they would take, the vulnerability, how to put yourself in that position of being vulnerable and exposed. I mean, what would make you do that at this time in your life?
Craziness. Just being crazy. It's so funny because I had came up with the idea to do it. I've always wanted to be in TV and film, but more so wanted to be behind the camera versus in front of it. But yeah, came up with this crazy idea to do this reality show. And it was so funny because about 2 weeks before we started filming, I said, no, I shouldn't do it, you know. But, you know, move forward with it anyway. And it turned out great. You got to check it out, Mark.
So you're doing that here in Atlanta?
It was filmed in Atlanta. And the last 2 episodes we filmed in Miami.
With all of these women out here in Atlanta,
Yeah.
I can only imagine the footage.
Yeah, but we had girls from all over. We had girls fly in from D.C., California, Ohio, up there, up top. Where you from?
They're a different breed up there.
Yeah, they are.
They definitely
are.
different.
I'm originally from Detroit, so I already know.
Oh, okay. Well, how did you get to Atlanta from Detroit? That's
Yeah, so I grew up in Detroit when I was, we left Detroit when I was about 10 years old, and
Okay.
we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. So I went to middle school and high school in Nashville, and then I went to college. I went to college at the age of 16 at Vanderbilt
Wow.
University. Graduated at 20, and like a lot of people in these smaller surrounding cities, you know, came on a trip to Atlanta and was just exposed to a lot of, you know, black entrepreneurship and growth and wealth here. And I was like, you know, man, I need a piece of that. You know, something special is happening in Atlanta. And it's a city that really breeds and promotes and supports black entrepreneurship. And so that's what brought me to Atlanta 16 years ago. So I've been a resident of the city ever since. You know, this is definitely home. I raised my daughter here, you know, found my success here, became a multimillionaire here. So very appreciative of the city of Atlanta, Georgia.
You brought up your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You raised your daughter here.
Mm-hmm.
I know you and I were talking earlier, and you had mentioned a loss, and you referenced that in part of your book. If you don't mind sharing a little bit with the audience that experience. I know it had to rock your world, but today I want to just talk person to person. Tell us a little bit about that. Share with us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so I got pregnant with my daughter at 14. I had her at 15, and with that experience, my mom really didn't know what to do. I had hid the pregnancy from my whole family, so she didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 7 months pregnant. So my daughter actually spent the first 4 years of her life in foster care, and we were reunited after I graduated from Vanderbilt. And so when I moved here to Atlanta, you know, brought my daughter with me, and she, you know, this was, you know, her home where she grew up, you know, at. So she went to Grady High School, and, you know, she did a year at LSU, and then she got homesick and wanted to come back home. So she went to Georgia State, and she started working for me, you know, in hospitality and nightlife, and she ended up, you know, she started just, you know, kind of drinking a little bit more and experimenting, you know, with Percocets, you know, which is something that, you know, a lot of these younger kids are doing, people in nightlife are doing. And she had got a hold to a batch of Percocets that were laced with fentanyl. And so she ended up passing from an accidental drug overdose. And I actually, me and my ex-wife, we were the ones that found her. So, you know, yeah, talk about a lot of PTSD, you know, definitely from that experience. But yeah, so I lost her about 3 years ago. I lost her October 2nd, 2022. And it definitely was, for sure, you know, something that rocked my world. You know, before then, I tell people I had never even used the word grief. It wasn't even in my vocabulary,
right,
you know. I had never experienced losing someone really close to me, and so then for that first experience to be the person that was the closest, you know, person to me, you know, it was definitely very, very rough. You know, I had some moments of, you know, not wanting to go on, you know, not wanting to live anymore. And so it was difficult, you know, and it caused me to, you know, this location in general, I used to operate this location. I used to be seen here all the time. And when my daughter passed, I just could no longer do it, you know, because she worked for me. She did the social media. She'd always be in here with that little camera recording everybody. doing everything. And so, I even had to change up, my day to day, in my work. And it was, it was and it is, still tough, very, very tough.
Wow. One of the things that I like to do when I meet people, when I interact with people, is I like to find out where they come from. Mm-hmm. What it is inside of them that gives them the ability to, no matter what comes up, they continue, as the old folks used to say, keep on keeping on. Mm-hmm. For you to have accomplished all the things that you have accomplished up to this point is one aspect. For you to overcome all of the challenges that you have overcome. You say you graduated college when you were 20 years old. Mm-hmm. You entered college at 16 years old. Where does that come from? We can talk about purpose, we can talk about destiny, we can talk about all of those things, but as a person, you have to make a decision every single day to get up and to execute. Where does that come from? Where does that drive? Where does that fire come from?
They say it's got to be in you, not on you. So I think I just kind of was, born with like that tenacity, that spirit.
We're going to continue with part 2 of this interview here in a few moments, but I just want you to really appreciate what you've heard and just let that marinate as we go into part 2 and get a little bit more deeper into some of her successes, some of her challenges, some of her failures that it took to get her to this point. So I just want to say we're going to pause for a second. We'll be right back with you. Stay tuned for more. Hey, this is Mark. I am back with Miss Snoop Dillard from here with the ATL Now. We're sitting here with the second part of this interview. We have brought in her new book, ladies and gentlemen. Snoop, tell us a little bit about this book and what this is all about right here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as I was mentioning earlier, this is a 2-part book. The first part of the book is called Who is Snoop? Okay, and so the acronym Snoop stands for Strength in Navigating Obstacles and Overcoming Pain. And so that is essentially what the book goes into. It goes into my journey of success, all of the obstacles that I had to overcome to get here. It tells, the origin story, of my 2 parents. Just the grit of growing up in a city like Detroit, us matriculating to Nashville, Tennessee, some of the things that I went through in high school, of course, the birth of my daughter, becoming a teenage mother, a single mother. It captures, my journey through college, and some of those ups and downs. I actually was suspended from college for a semester. And so, lots of different things, and I share those things humbly, so that, people know that, like, even as you make mistakes in life, you still can be successful, and push through. And then it brings us through me moving to Atlanta, meeting the rapper, the Grammy Award-winning rapper 2 Chainz, and starting the Escobar brand with him, getting into salon suites. And so, you name it, it goes through everything in my story. It goes through my marriage, my divorce, the loss of my daughter, and then, of course, we have the second part of this book, okay? And so, again, grieve, grow, and go. And so this is a step-by-step guide on how to rebuild your life after loss, because I think that this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but that we all go through. It's a similar thing that we will all have to share and go through in life, and it's just like, what do you do, when, your world has been rocked, that way. And so I used a lot of the things that I did to try to rebuild my life, after the loss of my daughter, and then, of course, going through a divorce back to back with that situation.
One of the things that I can appreciate about this, when I was 19 years old, I lost my brother. We were at the hospital, and I was sitting there and I was praying for him. And my mom came back in the room. She said, "Mark, we might as well go." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because he's gone." And as I was holding his hand and he made that transition, it was such a process. it actually rocked my world in its own way. So when I say what it took for us to meet up, you're from Detroit, I'm from Akron, Ohio. We meet in Atlanta. We're sitting here doing this interview. Yes, many people will be inspired. Yes, many people will be blessed. Yes, many people will be encouraged. But you have to understand what it took for us to meet here today. That's why I have this tremendous smile upon my face. Because you might say, why would I buy this book? Because it's not about the book, it's about the person. The person that I'm sitting here with today is able to help assist you and help you overcome your challenges and obstacles. She's giving you a blueprint on how to do it. A lot of times when you meet celebrities, when you meet famous people, you think they just arrived there. But there is a process. There is a step-by-step process that she had to overcome. So for us at the ATL Now, it is a privilege and an honor for us to be sitting here today, because just like my staff, I have people from the Ukraine, I have people from other parts of the country. Each one of our team members all had some challenges and some obstacles to overcome today. So in this interview, the people who are putting it together, you're talking about overcomers, you're talking about winners. As she talked about overcoming grief. Grief, if you don't get a hold of it, can rock your world. I remember when my brother passed away, I said to my mom, I said, Ma, you still, and I call her Ma to this day, I say, Ma, you still got 4 other kids to raise. So, yes, you did lose one, but the 4 other ones, we still need you.
We still need you.
See, so today, as we begin to close out and phase out this interview, you talk about the brands, you talk about the business, you talk about the grief, you talk about the loss. But if you were going to talk about you in the essence of who Snoop Dillard is, which is on the other side of the book, if you could summarize yourself, what would that be?
So I think, that kind of brings us to legacy, right? And I think that, when you go through something like grief, it does, make you think about, the loss of your own life and how it is that you want to be remembered, when you leave this earth. And so for me, you can't go through something like that and not be humbled, not feel humility. And so for me, it's okay, well, how do I want to be remembered, and what do I want to do for others? I want to inspire others, especially the youth, and so I started with the loss of my daughter. I started the Katera Renee Dillard Foundation, for my daughter's legacy. And so what we focus on is giving back to the youth, especially those that, have been in foster care, like my daughter, especially for those that are, teen mothers, especially for those, that are out there making some mistakes, and then they look back and feel like, okay, well, I won't be able to be successful. I can't be a doctor, or I can't be an attorney, or, I can't be this, because I went through this, in life. And so, and then we do other things. We do a diaper drive annually. As I was mentioning, we do the cleanup initiatives, around here, around the restaurant, probably every couple months. We cook, for the homeless. And these are things like silent projects that I do that, I don't come out with all the cameras and all of that, but, just things from the heart, And so, and essentially, and just kind of wrapping that up, being able to, relate, to other mothers. I was very vocal about my journey online with losing my daughter, and just some of the very low lows, because I had always been vocal about all of the high highs, and the grand openings and the successes and stuff. And so, and I just was so down in the dumps, I really could not, hide it. I got off Instagram for several months, but of course with what I do, I have to be seen, I have to be out there, I have to be doing things. And so I was very transparent, about how I was struggling, throughout, the past, 3 years. And so I have a lot of people that have come to me and say, and it's crazy because there were people who had their children at the time and have since lost. And they tell me that, me going on and continuing to live and continuing to, you know, being an entrepreneur, continuing to be in the spotlight, continuing to do interviews and stuff like that, that helped them on days that they thought, you know, that they wouldn't be able to get up or continue on. So, you know, when I look at all of that, you know, and wrapping all that into legacy, you know, what I want to be known for, and it's just, you know, I want to be known as somebody that teaches other people that no matter what you go through, you know, you can make it, you can still be successful, you know, so.
Yes. Well, where can people find your book at?
People can find my book on my website, book.whoissnoop.com. And also, if you just go to whoissnoop.com, it has a lot about my story. It has a lot about, you know, what I offer as far as, you know, salon suite consulting.
Yes.
It just, you know, literally kind of depicts, you know, my entire journey. And then, of course, people can also follow me and find me on Instagram at whoissnoop. And then, of course, my reality show, Snooping for Love. They can follow our Instagram page at Snooping, the number 4, Love. And then they can go to the website as well, Snooping4, spelled out, love.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we finish the second part of this interview, I just want to wrap this up in a summary. And the word that I would use here today in closing is the word amazing. And let me tell you why I would use that. To whom much is given, much is required. And when you have that mantle placed upon your shoulders, you're going to constantly be under attack. The things that you love, the things that you care about, they're going to constantly be under attack. But when you have a purpose, when you have a calling over your life, if you're able to endure those hard times, those attacks, the blessings, the benefits, not just the financial aspect, but the wisdom, the knowledge, the passion that you get from that pain. This is the embodiment of it. So when you decide to support her businesses, you're not supporting them just to help her lifestyle. You are supporting her to help her mission. And her mission is to change the world. She's paid the price for it. I'm sitting here with her today. I can sense it. I can feel it. Whatever you can do to support any one of her organizations, her mission, the cause for her daughter, whatever it is, you make sure you get out and do it. Snoop, we're going to leave you with the final word for the people. Anything you would like to say in closing?
The final word that I want to say is, you know, just keep going, you know, keep going, grieve, grow, and go. You know, it's okay to be stuck. It's okay to feel. It's okay to have those emotions, but just make sure that you pick up and go.
Yes, yes. Well, from the ATL Now, from all of our media outlets, we appreciate this opportunity. And as I said from day one, it is a privilege to be here. We thank the audience for your attention and your time. We hope that we gave you some information that will inspire you and change your life. Thank you again, Mark, with the ATL Now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you.
Thank you.